He was among the wisest elves of the Third Age. Though he would later be known as the Lord of Lorien, his early life would involve battle and war, and an animosity toward the dwarves. Today on Nerd of the Rings, we cover the life and travels of Celeborn. While we don't have a birth year for Celeborn, it is likely he is born in Beleriand, well before the First Age. He is born to Galathon, the son of Elmo. Celeborn also has a brother named Galadriel. Their family is known to have lived in the realm of Doriath, ruled by Elmo's brother Elwë, better known as King Thingol. Celeborn's early life would be spent in his granduncle's kingdom of Doriath, and it is there that he would meet the love of his life. For in the early days of the First Age, after their exile from the Blessed Realm, Finrod and his sister Galadriel would come to Doriath as guests of King Thingol. While Finrod would leave to found his own kingdom of Nargothrond, Galadriel, his sister, went not with him to Nargothrond. For in Doriath dwelt Celeborn, kinsman of Thingol, and there was great love between them. Therefore she remained in the hidden kingdom, and abode with Melian, and of her learned great lore and wisdom concerning Middle-earth. Celeborn and Galadriel are married, and they would dwell together in Doriath for some time. The pair are mentioned in no further events of the First Age, and theirs is declared by Christopher Tolkien himself to be the part of the history of Middle-earth most full of problems, with severe inconsistencies between versions of their tale. It is most widely accepted that Galadriel and Celeborn go over the Blue Mountains by 495 of the First Age. Though it's worth noting here, there is an earlier version of the story where it said Celeborn survives the sack of Doriath. Now, if you're interested in reading more about the variations in their story, check out the history of Galadriel and Celeborn in Unfinished Tales. Celeborn's name is a Sindarin one, meaning silver tall. His original Telerin name is Teleporno, which has an identical meaning. We next hear of Celeborn and Galadriel in the Second Age. In the aftermath of Morgoth's defeat, they live in High King Gil-galad's new realm of Lindon for a time, with Celeborn ruling the southern fief of Harlindon. Unlike Galadriel and Gil-galad, who are Noldorin elves, Celeborn is Sindarin, and many of those under his rule in Harlindon are also those of the Sindar. However, Celeborn and Galadriel would not dwell long in Lindon. They would depart with a sizable group of Noldor, Sindar, and Green Elves, and for a time they would live in the lands around Lake Ninuiel. Likely during their time in these lands, Galadriel gives birth to their daughter Celebrian, likely around the year 300 of the Second Age. Sometime in the coming centuries, Celeborn and his family would once again depart, coming to Celebrimbor's realm of Eregion by the year 750. Between 1350 and 1400, Galadriel relocates with her daughter to the Woodland Realm of Lorinand. She does so by traveling through Khazad-dûm. Meanwhile, Celeborn remains in Eregion due to his enmity toward the dwarves. This animosity is likely because his great-uncle, King Thingol, was killed by dwarves of Nogrod in the First Age. Prior to Galadriel's departure, a visitor had come to Eregion by the name of Annatar, who helped Celebrimbor in his greatest task, the creation of the Rings of Power. In the aforementioned Unfinished Tales, we are also told that in one version of Tolkien's writings, Sauron actually leads Celebrimbor's smiths to revolt against Celeborn and Galadriel. Before long, Sauron had the Gwaith y Myrdain under his influence, for at first they had great profit from his instruction in secret matters of their craft. So great became his hold on the Myrdain that at length he persuaded them to revolt against Galadriel and Celeborn and to seize power in Eregion. And that was at some time between 1350 and 1400 of the Second Age. Galadriel, who alone in Eregion did not trust Annatar, would be living in Lorinand by the time the Rings of Power are completed. Celeborn, however, would live in Eregion throughout this time, and when Sauron launches an attack on Eregion in an effort to take the rings for himself, Celeborn would fight in defense of the realm. Sauron's forces, however, are too mighty, and Eregion and its capital of Ostin-Ethil are sacked in 1697. Gil-galad had sent forth Elrond with a host of elves to aid Eregion. Were it not for the dwarves of Khazad-dûm attacking Sauron's rear flank, Elrond and the survivors of Eregion would surely have been slain. As it is, Celeborn leads the surviving elves out of Eregion, and joining Elrond, they are able to flee north, where Elrond founds the haven of Rivendell. Sometime after the Númenóreans helped the elves to victory in the War of the Elves and Sauron, Galadriel and Celebrian once again passed through Khazad-dûm and traveled to Rivendell in hopes of finding Celeborn alive and well. The family would indeed reunite in Imladris, dwelling together for a long time. It is also at this point that Celebrian first meets Elrond, her future husband. In the coming years of the Second Age, Celeborn and Galadriel would eventually leave Imladris, traveling to the southwest region of Belfalas, accompanied by many Sylvan elves from Lorinand. The next we hear of Celeborn and Galadriel comes in the Third Age, presumably meaning they did not take part in the last alliance against Sauron. We are told, however, that the couple had long journeys throughout the lands of Rhovanion, from the lands of Gondor and the borders of Mordor in the south to Thranduil's realm in the north. They then pass over the mountains and dwell in Rivendell for many years. In 109 of the Third Age, their daughter Celebrian marries Elrond half-elven. Over 1800 years later, King Amroth of Lorinand dies in 1981, the very same year the dwarves of Khazad-dûm are exiled by the Balrog. Celeborn and Galadriel together would take up the rule of Lorinand, which is newly named Lothlorien. But rather than king and queen, they choose instead to be lord and lady, and together they build the city and fortress of Caras Galadhon. Together the lord and lady rule the Galadhrim for well over 1,000 years, and would assist the free peoples of Middle-earth in lesser-known ways, as told in my Galadriel video. For Celeborn's part, he would receive the Fellowship of the Ring in early 3019. They offer the group counsel, supplies, and elven boats to continue on their journey. Roughly 1 month later, on March 11, 3019, Lorien itself would come under attack, for Sauron had forces once again in the fortress of Dol Guldur in southern Mirkwood. The orcs attempt to penetrate the Woodland Realm, and though great harm is done to the fair woods, the forces of evil are driven back by the power of the Lord and Lady. On March 15th, a second assault is launched upon Lorien, and once again they are driven back. Finally, on March 22nd, as Frodo and Sam make their way to Mount Doom across the plains of Gorgoroth, a third and final assault is attempted, but once again driven back by the Galadhrim. The ring is destroyed on March 25th, and 3 days later, on March 28th, Celeborn goes on the offensive. He leads the elves of Lorien crossing the Anduin River, and they lay siege to Dol Guldur. The attack is an overwhelming success, with the elves taking control of the fortress. Galadriel then uses her power to throw down the walls of Dol Guldur, laying bare its pits and cleansing the forest of its darkness. Just over a week later, on April 6th, Celeborn and Thranduil meet in the forest of Mirkwood, renaming it Erin Las Galan, the Wood of Green Leaves. With the evil of Sauron purged from the lands, they divide the woods into 3 sections. The southernmost lands come under the rule of Celeborn, who names it East Lorien. Thranduil takes the lands north of the mountains of Mirkwood, and the middle section they give to the Beornings and the Woodmen. Celeborn and Galadriel would attend the wedding of their granddaughter Arwen to Aragorn Elisar on Midsummer 3019. They would accompany Gandalf and the hobbits on their return journey. Along the way, they visit Treebeard at Isengard, bidding him farewell. They break off from Gandalf and Elrond and return to Lorien on September 13th. On September 29, 3021, Galadriel departs Middle-earth forever alongside Gandalf, Elrond, Bilbo, and Frodo. Celeborn, however, remains behind as the Fourth Age is ushered in. It is believed that having grown weary of Lorien without its lady, he relocates to Rivendell, residing with his grandsons Elladan and Elrohir. At some point after Samwise Gamgee's sailing west in 61 of the Fourth Age, Celeborn would also make the journey himself, boarding the last ship with Círdan the shipwright. And it is said that as he does so, he takes with him the last memory of the elder days of Middle-earth. As always, I want to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters who make this channel possible. Tom DeBombadil19, Listen Me the Cinda, Celebrimbor, The Mighty Mim, Team Weasel, Rabbi Rob Thomas, Charles Leisure, Toby Mobs Music, CCDC Red Team, Nerd Sidgeman Anytimer, Pelkey Sports Cards, Moki the Brown, Sky Carcass, Slide Belts, Dane Ragnarsson, Salim Rahman, Zetrock, Berto Berg, Grand Strategy Nerd, Graham Darracott, The Dark-Haired One, Wyland, Michael Wu, and Debbie. If you enjoyed the artwork in this video, check out the artists in the description and purchase prints of their great work for yourself. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and we'll see you next time on Nerd of the Rings.